first saw the New York City Ballet when I was 10, and I saw George Balanchine's ballets, and I wanted to dance for him because I loved what I saw. It looked very magical to me, and I wanted to dance for this man that made these ballets. And I started reading many books about him, and of course his history, he came from St. Petersburg, and he was trained at the Imperial School, which is now the Mariinsky, and so it's very famous in America because of him. And also many of my teachers, I trained with Danilova and Dubrovska, and before my time, Vladimirov was at the school, and Nabokov, and they all came from St. Petersburg and the Imperial School. And of course I read about Nijinsky and Anna Pavlova, and so and Karsavina, you know. So as a child I read a lot of history because the great dance came from here, and so it's a big pleasure for me, a huge honor to be able to work here and to bring this ballet, which is one of my favorite ballets. Not only was it my favorite to dance, but also to teach in every element, the children and the adults and the different characters. The thing that's hard always is the language, that they don't always understand what I'm saying, and I think they sometimes say yes, but they don't really understand what I'm saying, so I sometimes get a little frustrated. But I think in general, I think it's been an amazing experience. I think the dancers are incredible. And I think that the director, Yuri Fatih, is so wonderful, and he's so wise. And I mean, there's just so much here. The music, the orchestra is incredible. What Gergiev has done is incredible. It's just a very, very hard schedule. So in order to get the premiere done, it's been really hard. It's been a push. Well, many Balanchine ballets don't have stories, real stories. Often you'll see a Balanchine ballet and you'll feel like there's a story, but it's sort of something that you imagine, and it's very beautiful, but this is a very specific story. So it has beautiful Balanchine choreography in it. The dancing, especially in the second act, the divertissement, is some of the most beautiful Balanchine choreography. But at the same time, you have to tell the story of Shakespeare, of A Midsummer Night's Dream. So it's very different because as dancers, often we're not asked to tell a story. And although I think at this particular company they do that more often than we do in the United States. So, but this is a kind of a different story than they usually tell here, because it's more like it's a ballet, but it's a play. So they have to, without words, they have to tell this story of the lovers and the confusion and Puck and Oberon, and so it's a very, I think, unusual Balanchine ballet, because he didn't do a lot of story ballets.
Will you write a book?
Will I write a book? No, I won't. What I do, I'm not a writer, unfortunately, but what I try to do is when I work with dancers, and especially if they're my students, I tell them stories, and I tell them what teachers told me, and I teach them steps that I learned from my teachers, so that I will pass on the information. And I've never really thought about doing a book. There are so many wonderful ballet books, people that have much bigger histories than myself, and my way of remembering all these people that influenced my life, that gave me so much, is by trying to do a great job with the staging of Mr. Balanchine's works.